This segment of the show, we're getting back to jobs and growth and what Louisiana was basically founded on. A lot of its growth over the last 100-plus years has been around our oil and gas industry, and we're very fortunate to have on a representative from the Oil and Gas Association, the president, as a matter of fact, who has been working in that field for, we'll say, quite some time. I'll let him give you his history, but Mike Moncla, of course, working to serve and promote the interest of the oil and gas industry, and being a pro-oil and gas state, it's something that is part of our culture, part of our fabric, and part of the jobs that come with it. Mike, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Mike. Appreciate it, man.
You know, I tried to get you on about a week or so ago, and you had a very critical meeting that morning. It was a duck hunt. Again, part of Louisiana culture, and we just want to know, were you successful at your duck hunt?
Well, if you're a LinkedIn guy, I actually posted it on LinkedIn. Not that I normally would post a hunt on LinkedIn, but when we went out in our boat that morning, there was a marsh fire, and it was an incredible sight. In the dark in a boat. And I'll post it, and it's got about 6,000 hits on it right now. So it ended up being a good hunt. We ended up killing 10 teal, but it was an unbelievable sight, man. If you hadn't seen it on LinkedIn, go check it out.
Well, I'm there now, and I'm looking at it, and it is an eerie sight as you go down the canal, and the fire's burning to the right. I mean, it literally looks like you're boating into hell, but you were going on a duck hunt. So I'm glad you had some success. Very, very unique hunt. Well, let's first talk about optimism about the future. You know, you've got an anti-oil and gas president of the United States, Joe Biden, a lefty liberal-leaning lib that really doesn't understand how we get to and fro. He's just going to ride Amtrak. Oh, by the way, oil and gas impacts that. But when you look at the potential for the future, a Republican potential president, and then, of course, conservative things going on in certain parts of this country, what is your sense of optimism or hope for the oil and gas industry?
Well, we've got the whole world against us, it seems. It's depressing. But look, every study you look at, even from the liberal IEA, International Energy Agency out of France, they all say that we're going to be, we want to be zero. There's zero by 50, billboards everywhere, right? Well, we don't see that that's going to happen. There's too much demand for oil, too much demand for natural gas. The world is still dependent on natural gas and oil, and it's going to continue to grow as the population of the world grows. And while they say oil and gas is going to go from 54% for world usage down to 45%. That's what they're saying, down to 45%. Well, if you're only losing 9% to the year 2050, that's not zero. And when the population grows from 7.5 billion people to 10 billion, the actual pie is getting bigger, and 45% of a bigger pie means we will need more oil and gas in the year 2050 than we need today. So I'm optimistic as far as demand goes. The world is dependent upon it. Now, there is this thing called OPEC, and they can open the spigot at any time and crush us. They've proved it in the past. Over the last few days, I've seen a few articles talking about, are they going to open the spigot again? And I sure hope they don't, because it does crush industry, especially here in Louisiana, when they do that.
Last night, if you happen to watch some of the Fox News commentary, Sean Hannity had on former President Donald Trump, and he said, yes, absolutely, I'm going to take my revenge out and pause all these laws for two things. The lefties just cut the clips off there. But number one, his number one statement was drill, baby, drill, which he made it a priority for Louisiana and the rest of the nation to be energy independent. And with that potential threat, that evil threat of drill, baby, drill coming back, what could that mean for our state?
Well, I mean, we are a commodity-driven, man. I mean, if we've got $40 oil, we're not going to drill so much. If we've got, $100, $80 oil, we're going to drill more. And it really, as much as Trump says that, and I agree with all that he does. If the price of oil goes down due to OPEC, it won't have much of it. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, people don't make money at low prices.
I know this is a tough thing to wrap folks' heads around, but if we literally just took, and if this was even possible, I don't know the numbers, you probably do, but if we just took domestic production and said that we're only going to buy our first half or first 75%, all has to come from domestic production. We're buying from here, and there's a spread of that's going to go to pay off our national debt, and that's our focus coming up. Instead of empowering and building nations in Saudi Arabia and Abu Dhabi and all these other countries, we literally could pay off our national debt. We could provide jobs for the United States and fix our own problem versus building these skyscrapers and palaces in international waters. What is wrong with a concept like that?
Well, you say that, and we're building other nations, and we haven't built a new plant refinery in the United States in 30 years. Our refineries, a lot of them are geared for a different kind of oil because that's where we used to get the oil from Saudi Arabia and other parts of the world, and so it would take the United States to put some investment in infrastructure in refineries. And, I mean, you can't get a permit to do so with the current government that we have. And I say the current government, we haven't had one in 30 years. So we definitely would need to work on getting permits and getting the infrastructure built up for refineries so we can handle more of our oil. But, no, absolutely. I mean, honestly, we could be energy independent in our continent for sure, between Canada, United States, and Mexico, where we wouldn't have to have anything coming over in a boat, but those are all going to be tough hurdles.
Well, these are major conversations and big things, especially as Louisiana and, America, for that matter, grapples with national debt and other challenges for our state and our country. So we got to have these broader conversations. If we could just get our D.C. politicians to focus on that versus, handing out money to the rest of the world, focus on fixing our problems. But that's a heavy lift. Speaking of heavy lifts, there's a major conversation going on right now about carbon capture, carbon capture, carbon capture. All we're doing is taking stuff from the air and sticking it to the ground. That's essentially what's happening there. But your take on that particular industry, I mean, it's a federally incentivized program. Without it, I don't think it would exist. Where does carbon capture go in Louisiana, and is it something that could ever benefit the oil and gas industry?
Look, as the president of the Louisiana Oil and Gas Association, I have members that, are large members that are going to be taking part in this, and I have smaller members that, don't see too much good in it. But look, it's been going on for years. My family business, I come from the workover rig business, and we had one of our yards in Laurel, Mississippi. In Laurel, there was a huge what's called EOR, enhanced oil recovery, where they take carbon, they pump it down in the ground, and it helps the oil move to get the oil to migrate up the well, so you can extract the oil. Well, when it comes out of the ground, the oil goes into one tank, the carbon goes into it's separated, and then it goes back into the system or back into the pipeline. But not all of the carbon comes back up. So we've been leaving carbon in the ground for 50 years. So I'm not concerned about any environmental impacts. I really am not. But, to your point, this new thing is 45Q. Now, remember, 45Q was actually also under Trump. So, I mean, he also agreed to this stuff. I don't, as you said, I don't think anybody will be doing it without the 45Q because there's really no profitability in it. But anytime you take a pollutant out of the air and you put it in the ground, it has to be a good thing. I mean, if you look at what we've done in my lifetime, I remember going to the gas station when I was a kid and jumping out the car and filling up the car for my dad, and I was putting regular gasoline in my car. Okay, we now have unleaded only, and you have 3 types of unleaded, and you got catalytic converters. You got different engines that have been put on cars with new mufflers and new systems for tractor trailers all over the United States. We've converted refineries from coal to natural gas. So we've done all these things in the United States in an effort to lower emissions. This is just one more step. We're going to take a smokestack and put it in the ground, basically. So now, having said all that, I'm for it, right? Do I think it's going to change the temperature of the earth?
Not a degree.
I think God handles his own thermostat of the earth. We know from geology that the temperature of the earth has always changed. So,
hey, look, I can't get the air colder in my radio studio, and if you're trying to change the whole globe's temperature, I think it's going to be a heavier lift. But hey, that's just me looking around, looking for obvious solutions. Folks, we're talking with Mike Moncla today, the president of Louisiana Oil and Gas Association. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, more on the future of oil and gas in Louisiana, where we go as a state. Stay tuned for that and much more. You listen to Echols at 8.
Michael Echols.
Hey, folks, we're back. You're tuned in live to Echols at 8. Remember, go to KMLB.com to listen to our show live. And after the show, you can go to Spotify. Online today, talking with Mike Moncla, the president of Louisiana Oil and Gas Association, as we talk jobs and opportunity in our great state. Mike, as you look at Louisiana going forward, first, give us a baseline. The oil and gas industry provides X number of jobs in our state, which contributes to X taxes and other opportunities in Louisiana.
It's about, when you count in the refineries, pipelines, all that stuff, it's about 250,000 people in the state. I want to say it was 1 out of every 9 Louisianians made their living somehow in the oil and gas industry. So it is certainly big for our state.
Well, that is a big number. And then from a revenue perspective, I mean, you have severance taxes, and this is something that I think will be debated, and I think there were some good bills about, I call it a match or better. And this is something, to me, this is supply and demand. The folks on the left and the current administration don't get it. They just want to tax the hell out of everybody. But if you want to create more opportunity in our state, ensuring that you have a tax or a severance tax that matches or is better than your competing states, that should grow opportunities. But Louisiana, for some reason, continues to double down on stupid and have higher taxes than other states. Thus, the jobs and the severance goes elsewhere. What can we do to improve that in Louisiana?
Yeah, we've run bills the last 2 or 3 sessions that is, to try to lower the severance tax on oil because our neighboring states all the way around us are a lot lower. We're at 12.5%. Texas is at 4.6. Mississippi and Arkansas are, I think, like around 6. But, I mean, if you think about Texas and all the work that they have and all of our talent that continues to leave Louisiana and go west, if you think about drilling a well, you can drill a well in Shreveport, Louisiana, and pay 12.5% day one to the government. Or you can go across the border to Marshall, Texas, and day one you're making 8% more on your investment.
So I want people to know and understand, because I've watched these numbers carefully in the last 6 years. Capital investment in the oil and gas industry, and I remember both Exxon and major corporations talking about this. We've had $1 billion+ in investment in Louisiana in the last 6 years, maybe 2 in this particular industry. 48 billion went to Texas. 48. We got 1 or 2. They got that. This is not fuzzy math to me. The numbers could be bigger too. I just remember these statistics early on. All these billions went there. We got very little. To me, it's that issue.
Yeah, and look, there's a lot at play here to understand. We are not blessed with obviously they're a lot bigger than us geographically, but they have 4 shale plays, really. We only have 1 in the Haynesville. And Louisiana is kind of divided up into, North Louisiana, South Louisiana, inland waters, and offshore. Those are our 4 segments that I look at on a daily basis, and when we have our rig count and that kind of stuff. Offshore, that's more federal, and we get killed with these, Biden not keeping to his promise to have an offshore lease sale. Then you got inland waters, which is dead in Louisiana. My family business used to have 11 barge rigs. We cut them up into pieces and sold them for scrap because coastal erosion lawsuits have killed the inland waters business. It will never come back. The South Louisiana market doesn't have a shale play, so there's not much activity there. And then in North Louisiana, that's the busiest area in Louisiana because we've got the Haynesville Shale. So some of it is just our formations, not necessarily, just Texas has a lot more opportunity there than we do.
Well, definitely an opportunity in my gut to change our philosophy going forward. And it's a two-front approach, as you suggest. It's, I think, the severance tax and then all these legacy lawsuits. And hopefully day one, the new administration, and you probably have had conversations with those in that stratosphere, but to settle all these old legacy lawsuits and get the posture reset and then change laws where you can't just come in for an environmental issue and then never put the money back towards the environment, just stealing money. And that's kind of the chaos that's involved in these legacy lawsuits, that people will come in, buy a piece of property, say there's environmental damage, get a huge reward check, never fix the problem, take the money to the bank, and nobody ever gets accountable. So we got to fix all that problem, and I think that maybe next administration, next legislature can begin to work in that direction. What say you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I've got an attorney that's looking at some language right now for a bill next session to try to fix legacy. And to your point, in Texas, you can only sue for what your value of your property plus cleanup. The cleanup, you might have a property that's worth, $5 million, and the cleanup's going to be $2 million. So over there, they could possibly get $7 million. Okay, in Louisiana, if they have a property that's worth, $500,000, they can sue for $100 million. so that's part of the problem. And then again, to your point, when they get their money, they don't even fix the environmental cleanup that they said that was there in the first place. So there's some things we've got to clean up. We need to work on what is the maximum value they can get out of the lawsuit and make it mandatory for the cleanup. So absolutely, those two things are key. And
all we're talking is a little bit of logic and reason in the approach, not to hurt folks that have been hurt. It is literally just put some reason in it versus the bombastic awards that are given, and literally it's just a play to direct money towards lawyers and the folks, not to actually fix the problem. But these are big things. Mike, as we go back to major opportunities in Louisiana to continue to grow jobs and opportunity, you mentioned Haynesville and North Louisiana. Is there a potential growth opportunity and a growth story for our state if we do correct some of these things? And what do we need to do first?
Yes, we have to get more competitive with severance tax. And we have to incentivize. We have some incentives that were put into place years ago in the Haynesville, and obviously it's a great play as well. But if we had incentives in other parts of the state, maybe we can resurrect some of those areas. We have a deep well exemption that we had to run a bill. Representative McFarland ran it for us last session to really help a problem that we were having in South Louisiana with a particular member of ours, and we were able to get it fixed. But it was for a deep well exemption. But really, why not just have a drilling exemption? I mean, day one, they're making 8% less if they go to Texas. So let's incentivize our member companies to drill in Louisiana instead of across the border.
Well, definitely creating those incentives makes a whole lot of sense. I want to give you folks just a quick synopsis of what the oil and gas, or just oil in particular, the United States. Now, this is a Googleable number. This isn't me. This is there's several different entities out there that can project this for you. But the United States consumes an average of 20.6 million barrels of oil a day. Now, I'm assuming a barrel of oil is 50 gallons. Mike, is that correct? Is it around 50 gallons?
It's like 38.
38 gallons. Okay, so almost 40.
I think it's 42.
Okay, so for fuzzy math purposes here, that's 800 million gallons a day, give or take, of oil that is consumed in the United States of America. Multiply that times 365, you get an even bigger number. This is a big, big industry and a big, big opportunity for Louisiana in particular, if we just have the incentive set up right to grow the jobs here. So this is not a hard equation. Louisiana is set up for this. We've got the infrastructure, we've got the waterways, and we've got the product. We just need to focus on it again. What'd you say?
Absolutely. We've got to, we're back to 13 million barrels a day here in the United States, which is back to the Trump era. And believe me, it has nothing to do with Bidenomics. I mean, he's done everything he can to hurt oil and gas. And, the price of oil got to $100. So, we're going to get busy again. But so nothing to do with him except making the price of oil go up. Got us back to 13 million barrels a day.
Well, Mike, we appreciate what you guys are doing in the industry. If folks have questions and want to, be involved or learn more about your organization, where do they go? What website? How do they get engaged?
LOGA.LA.
LOGA.LA. That's pretty simple, folks. LOGA.LA. And so right there on the internet. And, Mike, we appreciate you being on the show with us.
Thanks so much for having me, Mike. We'll see you soon in Baton Rouge.
You got it.